Day 2 at NAMM 2020. We're here with our friend and client here, Mike Miller, who's a rising star as a producer and mix engineer, who just purchased his second set of VT-5s and VT-7s because, of course, he can't live without it. How come you can't live without it, Mike?
Because how could you, once you hear it, you just never want to not live with this. It's unbelievable. And I'm bi-coastal, so I originally got it for New York, started mixing with it, and it just changed my life. So when I came here, I was like, I can't do anything without this, so I need to get another one. It's just unbelievable.
Either that or you'd have to buy another seat on the airplane for this stuff to carry. And
I was considering it. It's definitely heavy.
Yeah.
It's definitely heavy. But it would be worth it. It would be worth it, yeah. It's just, I mean, I can't say enough about it.
What kind of material are you working on? What's your area of specialty?
Mostly doing pop stuff. This is on the master bus. It's just the thing that everything goes into at all times. It adds so much. It also takes away all the stuff you don't want. It's like as soon as you put it on, it's like you run things through it. You hear the rough, and then what you're listening into it. It's just mind blowing from the start. It's like just changes everything. It's so amazing. It adds so much depth and warmth and like clarity, and it's And it's not even like it's not even really compressing it. It's just like as soon as you just put anything into it, it's like it's mind blowing. It really is. It's amazing. It's the best. If you can have fun doing what you're doing, and it when you get stuff in that maybe isn't as you would have recorded it, you know what I mean, or as you at the highest quality, and you're listening to it and you're like, oh man, what am I gonna do to this? And you put it in your session, and you put this on, and you're like, oh, I know, this is what I have to do now.
Is that like fixing it in the mix?
Yes, it is. Fixing it in the Fearn.
What kind of settings do you normally use on the EQ?
The EQ, so I have the high cut. I learned this from the great John Castelli. He has the cut at 28, 10, and then boost the low and the high. Leave the mid and the cut, that alone. And it's just we were talking about this with the high cut. It adds so much clarity. You lose no top end whatsoever, but it just creates so much clarity. It makes you feel like there's more top end, honestly. And it fixes low mid problems and lots of different stuff. So it's really incredible. And before I had this, I had this by itself. I was mixing with this, and then I went to the PMC room with John and Spider, and they had this, and we were like, let's plug it all in. Let's see what it is. And I pulled up my mix, and then just switched back between the mix with this, and then with this on with nothing, and it was like, wow, okay, that's just way better, without doing anything. And this isn't even on this, it's not even the needles aren't even moving. It's just so amazing. You know what I mean? It's just so much warmth and clarity. It's like a clear coating over, it expands the canvas that you're working on. You know what I mean? It extends it. You can hear depth and detail so much differently. It just brings your mix to the back wall. You know what I mean? And it creates the bottom and the clarity and am I moving the mic too much? I'm so yeah. I mean, I can't say enough. I talk about it all the time. I really bother a lot of people about this. Made people spend a lot of money on this because it's worth every penny. But there's a lot of my friends that are selling all of their gear right now for this. So it's what I did.
Good work.
It's what I did. I'm having a better time mixing, much better time, better outcome, everything.
Yeah, so John's goal is to just get rid of all of his plugins, right?
No plugins. Just isotope. Only isotope.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, what was he running on that mix? I mean, there was...
Sorry.
But he had basically had one plugin going, right? Which was that...
I don't remember what he had on it.
I wish I could remember it, but it was some kind of compression, multi-band kind of thing, right?
Oh, was it just the Pro Q3 or the Pro MB? Pro MB?
It's some sort of mastering plugin.
Well, yeah, the ozone a lot and the
That's it.
neutron and ozone are like, and then like nothing else and just this. But what I was saying earlier is there was a time where I was like on my phone on the couch, and I was listening, and all of a sudden, he reached for the VLC and he was running everything through the VLCs, and then obviously through the mix bus as well, and all of a sudden, like the kick started like punch like crazy. The low end was like sounding sick, and I was like, dude, did you just do something to kick? And he's like, no, I boosted all the low mids on the main synth, and for some reason like it just brought out this crazy. It was insane. It was like, okay, we're done.
Yeah, see, that's kind of like probably what you get working on a large format console when you've got a bunch of the same things that you can, and everything starts to at least conform a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was working on a really difficult vocal recently, and I brought it to John's, and Ingmar put the vocal through the VLC, and before then I had never actually like ran something through the VLC. I just tracked with it, so it wasn't even like I was like working on the vocal for so long with all these plugins and different stuff, and I was like not getting there. It was just super. It was like not it was recorded poorly. It wasn't the right mic for the person, and he had recorded it on different days. Like it was a nightmare. And for like as soon as it went into that, it was like it just does like this stuff just does something. You know what I mean? And it brought it forward. The high boost on it was insane, and like we had to do like 2 or 3 little EQ moves like in the box, and like that was the saving grace. Like there was nothing that I knew of that could fix that vocal, and then he put it through that, and I was like, okay, there it is.
Yeah, cool.
So,
I get similar stories from John all the time. Like
it's
that,
amazing.
Yeah, and the way stuff is recorded, especially in the pop world now, like people are on the road, they're recording in like either a hotel room or a bus or
and it's hard to tell if you're not recording things right because your listening situation is not up to par.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Ideal,
so
you can't even reference it. And a lot of the time they're cutting on, something simple like
what are the Apollos
or something, or just something that just doesn't necessarily sound very good. Yeah, and right. How can you pick a vocal mic if you can't monitor?
Yeah, exactly. And you're like getting takes, and you don't even know if you're getting like proximity effects.
You have no idea. Right.
Yeah, like and then you like listen on in a proper mixing, situation. You're like, oh, this is terrible. You know what I mean? Like, what am I going to do about this? Yeah. And so I mean, that it did it. That did it. And I could, like I said, I could not get it to get there until we ran it through that. Right. And then like before, I had like plugins on like everything, like multiband, doing all this EQ stuff, compression, like everything. We took it all off, started from scratch, and just ran it through that, and we were like, oh, okay. So, and the other thing I want to say about this too is, like when you like set it up, it also gives you, I feel like it gives you so much more headroom to be as loud as you need to be. There's obviously a lot of controversy and loudness right now, but going from the helo into this and then back in, it leaves so much more headroom for some reason. Like I don't know how you guys, I don't know anything, like I just know tubes and it's red and it sounds amazing. That's my knowledge, but I just like every time you listen, if something's just in the box and then you put it through this, it gives you so much more depth, but also volume too. Like it gives you so much more to like play with. And your mixes will sound bigger and more dynamic, especially on Spotify and everything, because now everyone knows that it just turns your music down anyways. So, like if you're mixing, like your stuff's like just crunched and no dynamics at like -7 or 6, and then it gets turned down to -14 anyways, it's just gonna sound tiny. But with this, you can mix with so much like low end and like warmth and harmonics and transients, and your stuff will sound better on everything. You know what I mean? But you're not fighting to get the level. You know what I mean?
Right.
Which is a huge
part of
huge
it's
problem.
probably a presence thing, right? Where it just sort of fills it out in a way that you don't actually have to push quite as much actual level to get things to come through, to be intelligible. Yeah, I think that's probably part of it.
Well, I can say as a designer of it, my approach on everything is I get it where I think it should start from, and I listen to it a long time, and I say, what bothers me about that? Get rid of that. Right? Now what bothers me? Get rid of that. And keep doing that until there's nothing left that bothers me. I just don't want to be bothered by what
exactly.
it sounds like.
Me too, and that was the vocal. It was bothering me like crazy.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, tubes is the answer for everything.
And I also want to make sure that no matter how you turn the knobs, the box will never sound bad.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah, that's really important.
You can boost 6 dB at like anything. Like we're literally cut 10 dB of 28, and you're like, it sounds better. Like when has that ever happened on any EQ ever?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or like just starting off with 4 dB. And I've talked to people too about this, and they're like, oh, 2 dB, like in 2 dB increments, it's like scary. And I'm like, dude, you have not listened to it. Like everything that you do sounds good. Everything. Like, but we starting off at +4 on the high and the low boost at 20 and like 60 or whatever you put it to, sounds amazing. The low end sounds so good. Top end sounds so good. You really like don't have to be afraid to mess with it. You can do anything with any of these, and it sounds so good.
Well, I'll tell you, it's marked in 2 dB steps. Not all the steps are 2 dB.
Interesting.
It was basically, I found where it was useful and sort of rounded it off to the nearest amount. So some of them, especially on the mid-cut, the first few steps are 1 dB, and then it goes to 2 dB. So one of the things that I always wanted to do, kind of regret that I didn't do it on this, is not label anything. And just have
more
frequencies A, B, C, D, E.
Yeah.
And then it's just 1 through 10.
Yeah.
To make people listen rather than say, oh, I need 2 dB at 10K.
Yeah.
Don't do it that way. Turn it till it sounds right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And like I said earlier, just turning it on sounds good.
Yeah.
So.
Do you do that? You run it flat sometimes?
Oh yeah. 100%. And I also, the thing I always say to people too, when they're like, the reason why all of my friends are selling their gear is because there is none that I really know of something that works, like that changes your life, but works on everything at all times. That's always on and never off. You know what I mean? Like to me, and at least to my knowledge, I don't know anything that anyone has that is on the mix bus at all times, no matter what.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's huge. Everything is running into it. Like, what else could you ask for? Something that's giving you clarity, warmth, low end, dynamics, headroom, like whether it is
some predictability too. If you're using it every time, then
you know what you're getting with it. You know as soon as you put something in the session and you have it set to go through that, it's gonna sound better.
Yeah.
All time.
Well, the VT-4, which is a single channel version of the VT-5.
Yeah.
That was the first version, and I was listening to that for a year and a half, and I came to the realization that I didn't want to hear stuff that didn't go through that.
Yeah.
So to me, just in the listening environment, I always ran it through there.
Yeah.
Now for me, of course, I have this and this on the mix bus. It's like, might as well be
perfect.
hardwired because I'm never going to do anything differently.
It is hardwired in my situation.
Yeah.
It's the output of all the subs go into this, then into the master fader in the print.
Yeah.
At all time, you can't turn it off.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. Another thing, right?
That was a power move, by the way, too. No power. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that.
I did that because there wasn't room on the front panel, but
yeah.
For most people, it's irrelevant because they're never going to turn it off.
Yeah. No, never turning off.
That's us, Doug, Joff, George, here with Mike Miller, NAMM 2020.
We're audio engineers. Sorry about this.